myself and Louis Rees-Zammit were going quite well on the roulette table. So we sort of said, well, I tell you what, should we just go red or black and split 50-50 or split the winnings sort of thing? And he said, well, why don't we just do whoever wins red or black takes all the winnings? And I should have known that the week that he had the week before and the golden boy of Welsh rugby, that everything was going for him. An old timer like myself, I'm way down that pecking order. And fun enough, it came in red for him.
Thanks, how are you, mate?
Yeah, I'm all right, thanks. How are you?
Very good. I'll tell you what I shouldn't have done. I should not have been on YouTube and YouTubed your name. Have you been on there or not and seen all the memes?
Oh, Jesus, not for a while.
I thought, I'll tell you what, I'm going to do a bit more research. Got a bit of time. I put Biggs off till after the kids go to bed. I'm just going to put it in YouTube and just see what comes up. So normally mine, there's a bit of fighting, a bit of grabbing and not a lot else. So I thought we might see some of your up and unders. It's all these memes and music and dance moves and Michael Jackson songs over your kicking technique.
Yeah, mate, that came with the territory back in the World Cup in 2015. That did. So I'm just about managing to shake that off. But obviously, whenever people put my name into YouTube, that's what comes up. So,
oh, mate, I did laugh. But I don't know. Obviously, it's a serious chat that we're trying to have, mate. We may as well start on the kicking technique. Because I remember you had this funky style, and I played at Gloucester with a guy called Rob Cook, who had the most ridiculous kicking technique. So it was obviously a thing. Clearly, I put it in on YouTube, and it was a thing. Was it hard to shake off? Because I don't remember you doing that anymore.
Yeah, it was weird, Jim, really, because during the World Cup, 2015, Lee Halfpenny got injured in the last warm-up game against Italy. So it was I was thrown in the deep end a little bit in terms of into the goal-kicking duties of the team. And I still don't really know. All I remember is being really, really nervous before that England game in the group. And I just felt I'm quite a fidgety sort of character anyway, in terms of can't sit still and always sort of, touching sort of hair, getting out things out of the way and everything like that. So it just seemed to happen, and I didn't think anything of it during the game. And then I came into the team room on Monday or whatever, a couple of days after we played, and literally just all the boys have got it up on like the laptops, and all the coaches are sort of rinsing me. And I was like, I did say a little bit. I was like, well, nobody was rinsing me when they were going over on Saturday night, but. The boys had a good bit of fun out of it for a good few months. I think it's died off a bit now, though.
That must be hard, though. Like, you've got, arguably, especially the way you play as well, one of the hardest jobs is to try and compose yourself. I know we're having a little bit of a laugh about it now. Yeah. And everyone's got their own technique. And at any level, not that I could kick, but I wouldn't want to be a kicker because of pressure on there. But, if you've got that in the back of your head, right, and with Rob Cook when he used to cook, the fans were laughing. I was like, there's obviously a funny element to it, but there's also like if you miss the kick.
Yeah, that's the thing that worked out fairly well for me. I didn't miss too many during that period, so that kind of helped it as well. Because obviously, if you're missing kicks and you perhaps got a little bit of a strange technique or a little bit peculiar, it kind of looks. Or becomes even stranger. Whereas I was quite lucky, I managed to knock a few over, which probably helped my cause. And I think it just kind of phased out, not so much phased out, but I think I just got a little bit more comfortable in the role of doing what I was doing, and just sort of became a bit more natural, as opposed to really quite nervous and quite fidgety in terms of that. And also, Jim, it's easy to say, but when you've sort of addressing the kick and you're in that mode, nothing else is really coming into your mind. You're not worrying about sort of the crowd or any comments from the crowd or anything like that, or the pressure or anything like that. You're just sort of in your zone trying to do what you do. So only probably when you look at things back, you think, oh, that probably looked a bit stupid, or you sort of thought that wasn't quite as the norm sort of thing. But I suppose every kicker's got their own little bits and pieces, which they're a bit strange with. But yeah, like I said, I'm glad to have shaken that a few years down the line anyway.
Yeah, don't worry, mate. I look back at my clips because my son's 10, going on 11 now, so he knows his dad used to be obviously a pro rugby player. So he's typing like they do on YouTube, and there ain't anything there. There's nothing there apart from fights. It's embarrassing, but
you were the enforcer, Jim, weren't you? See, that was the thing.
Self-proclaimed enforcer. Yeah, just going around grabbing people. No, it's slightly embarrassing. Congratulations as well. That's probably how we should have started it.
I should have started by offering you and every Scotsman in Scotland a beer on behalf of the Welsh team. Actually, that would have been a better way to start it. But
yeah, let's just talk about the celebrations first. We can maybe talk a little bit about that. Like, how was it? I mean, was it obviously very weird?
Really weird.
Yeah.
Yeah, really strange. I think it was a really, really long week actually, because we played obviously Saturday evening. And we then obviously conceded in the last play of the game. So emotions were pretty high in the changing rooms afterwards in terms of disappointment, frustration, anger, sort of everything combined in terms of how we sort of just capitulated probably in those last sort of 12 minutes, and everything seemed to go against us. So the disappointment and the emotions then were sort of frustration and anger. And then I think the days afterwards just kind of, it was a really, really long week waiting for that Friday night, because I think we realised that we probably didn't do enough to have won the game in the end on that Saturday night. But I think we probably realised we probably did enough to win the championship there and then, to have scored the 4 tries, perhaps with a penalty try or 1 or 2 decisions maybe elsewhere. So waiting for Friday night was, I was as nervous as I've ever been for any game or anything I've played in, because it's completely out of your control. You're literally relying on 23 other blokes to sort of front up and do a job for you. And I thought Scotland were brilliant, by the way. I thought the way they played with energy, and in particular their kicking game in the first half, they were brilliant and really nullified from France's opportunities. But it was a relieved house on Friday. I was here on my own because my wife and little one are still in Wales. They're coming back up on Sunday. So you know what it's like, Jim. You're enjoying watching telly and in a bit of peace and quiet and things. But it was honestly, it was awful just to sit there and have your sort of fate out of your hands. Yeah,
no, a fair play to the Scotland lads. 1999. And the way that they did it.
I think I was fairly confident, if I'm honest, Jim, of Scotland, I suppose, and this isn't the wrong way of saying it, but not losing by whatever it was, 21 points, because I thought Scotland would be, sort of, a Lions year, loads to play for Scotland, potentially could have finished second if they'd had a slightly bigger win. So it was kind of, I thought they'd always do a job for us in that sense, but I got to be honest, I didn't expect them to win, probably like a lot of people with France going for the title. And there was probably that one moment, wasn't there, on half time where after Stuart Hogg got yellow carded, France had a 5-metre line out, lost, Scotland pinched it, kicked it off at half time. And I think had they scored from there and got their 2 tries, I think it could have been a very different second half. But luckily I think we rode our luck quite a bit, didn't we, in the tournament in terms of that, and it just so happened that it absolutely belted down in Paris on that Friday night as well, which played into our hands as well. So all in all, I think we rode our luck a little bit during the tournament, but I feel like we played some really good rugby there as well. So I think the more the tournament got on, the better we got and the better understanding we had of our game plan. And I think that came from enjoying ourselves and not being uptight off the field, if that makes sense, because I think we were allowed to relax, allowed to enjoy ourselves off the field, even with these tough times going on.
And who's leading that? Who's leading the fun bus? If things were normal, because you think, you look at the demographic of your team, you've got Alan Wynne-Jones as the captain, serious kind of guy. Yeah. Apart from that video that I saw on social media of him doing the splits somewhere in Ibiza, I think. I don't know if you've seen it.
There wouldn't be too many of them around, I don't think. No.
Well, that one's enough.
So we got we've got sort of committees in the team actually. So we've got like a fines committee where John Davis is head of fines. Him and Ken Owens are head of fines. So basically, sort of like wrong kit or not wearing your mask or anything like that is fine. So they're on that. We've got myself actually as a season campaign. Somehow I've managed to find myself still on the laundry committee, so in charge of making sure that all the lads sort of kit gets off to the laundrette on time, and basically any complaints come straight to me. So that's my job. And then boys are in charge of like an entertainment committee. So we've got Liam Williams on that, Josh Adams, and Hugh Bennett, our conditioning coach, came on board this campaign and did a really good job organising like some casino nights, some different sort of theme nights with the food and bits and pieces like that. So we had some racing car sort of simulators come in as well. So it was just really important that we had that sort of side of it away from the actual training and match side of it. So that was really good. And actually, I when on the casino night, I think it was the week after, it was the week of the England game, and myself and Louis Rees-Zammit were going quite well on the roulette table. So we sort of said, well, I tell you what, should we just go red or black and split 50-50 or split the winnings sort of thing? And he said, well, why don't we just do whoever wins red or black takes all the winnings? And I should have known that the week that he had the week before and the golden boy of Welsh rugby, that everything was going for him. An old timer like myself, I'm way down that pecking order. And funny enough, it came in red for him, and I ended up with nothing, and he walked away with all the cash. So I was up against it from day one with him actually there.
I want to talk about Northampton and your time there again, which something we spoke about before, obviously when we were together.
Yeah.
You look at other players that have gone across to play in England. Well, we look at George when he went to Northampton, and it didn't work out probably as well as it's worked out for you. And it's fantastic to see George playing as well as he has been. How much have you enjoyed being at Northampton, playing in the Premiership? And I suppose the question after that is around, is it better than the Pro 14 or just different? I mean, these conversations have been now, aren't they?
I think firstly, to answer the first bit, how much have I enjoyed it? I think it's by far and away the best rugby decision I've made in my career by an absolute country mile. And I'm not saying that Northampton, we've done things perfectly, and we've far from sort of steamroll teams and things like that. We had a really good season my first year. We were flying up until COVID hit in my second year, and then we sort of fell off the edge of a cliff and couldn't wrestle that momentum back. And then we're right in the mix for that top four this year as well. So I just feel like, I think, and obviously you played with Sam Vesty, didn't you, quite a bit, Jim? So you sort of know how much of a rugby geek and a nose he is. And honestly, he's literally the most nauseous bloke you can find on a rugby field, isn't he? Yeah. But for me as a player, and that's exactly what I want from a coach. I want someone who is going to study every bit of footage of training, everything of me, everything to make me better, individuals better, which ultimately is going to make the team better as well. So I think him and Chris Boyd deserve huge amounts of credit for how they developed and made rugby players better in that squad. And I think that's the biggest thing. I feel like I'm a better rugby player than when I started there. So I think for me, I've absolutely loved challenging myself in a different environment, because I didn't want to be a player who, and I'm not saying there's anything wrong with this, people have got to do what's right for them and their circumstances and everything, but I didn't want to be a player who stayed at one club for my whole career and didn't experience how good other coaches could be or how good other setups could be. And like I said, it's not perfect in Northampton, but what it is it's a very, very well-run club with great people there. And I think with Chris Boyd coming in particular, he's been nothing short of brilliant for the club. And I've loved my time there so far. And I hope that I've got a couple more good years to give there as well. In terms of the difference between, say, the Pro 14 and the Premiership is, I wouldn't, and whenever people say, is it better quality? Is it better? Are there better players and things? And you've only got to look at like the quality of especially at your Leinsters and your Munsters and things. And I don't think the quality is perhaps better, but what you get every single week is an occasion or a must-win game, or a game that can go either way. I mean, you look at the results that's been this year, and you just literally everyone can beat everyone in this league. It's obviously without COVID, it's like it's the only show. It's like it's the only sort of, it's the circus in town, really, isn't it? It's, especially for Northampton, it's in the middle of town. You've got 14,000 there every week, and it's just every week the intensity week in, week out is blows the Pro 14 out of the water, if I'm honest with you. And that's not saying that the quality is any better, but week in, week out, game after game, the intensity and the having to be 100% on your game to get something, or to pick up something each week, compared to say the Pro 14 is miles apart, mate, if I'm honest.
Yeah, and I played in both as well, and what I found quite difficult as a player was playing for Scotland, then coming back to play for a Saracens or a Gloucester, 6-day turnaround, then having to play an international again. You've managed that really well. Obviously, Northampton have managed you really well around that as well. And I wanted to chat about George North, not because a negative onto a negative, more like a negative onto a positive. Again, because I'm someone that said, I'm not too sure whether George North is the same player. And that was based probably watching it at Northampton. But look at him now. I can't believe how well he's playing at 13. What's it like having someone like George out? I'll tell you what's really good as well is the loyalty that the coaches have shown in him, and rightly so. What he's done for Wales and what he can do. He's a freak of nature in the kindest way. But what's it like having a player like George North in your team? How good is it to see him playing so well?
Yeah, I don't think you're probably not. I think George himself, Jim, knows that in the year or so leading up to this, he for where he has been and what he can deliver, he probably knows that he was probably a little bit short of where he needed to be. But I think that's like a real sort of test of character to him as well, in terms of being able to come back and prove people wrong, and in a different role as well in that 13, which isn't the easiest position to just slot into and make it seamless. So what he is just an absolute specimen, isn't he? You know, in terms of the pace, the power, the explosiveness he's got, and he, the size he is. I said I'd love just one day to have one game in his body with my sort of perhaps sort of never say die attitude. And I just need to have a better body and more physical attributes. I think if I could have more physical attributes, I'd be half decent, I reckon. But I'm stuck in my body. So George has been brilliant, and what he gives you is that ability. And George is the type of player, and I don't think you mind me saying this, you've got to keep on to George quite a lot, because he knows that he needs almost telling that he's world class and is unbelievable, and the pace, the power he's got and things. You almost need to just keep on to him and say, you need, look, we need this from you now, or I need more talk from you in this session, or just keep little bits of reminding him and not riding him particularly hard, but just keeping on top of him so he doesn't fall into a comfort zone and just accept that he's just going to coast through some periods of the game. But fair play to him. He's come back absolutely different level, and I think he looks hungry again, doesn't he? And he looks like he's putting himself about and getting touches of the ball, and that's only good for Wales and I would have thought the Lions in the summer.
Yeah, absolutely. He had a couple of bad injuries as well, didn't he? He had a couple of bad head knocks and stuff that he had to deal with as well. But it's interesting you talk about the management of players, because everyone is different. It's gone to the old days where it's like, just toughen up, just do this, just do that. I mean, this, just through the influences in life. And this brings me on to probably a negative topic, because from what I've researched, you went to school with Liam Williams, is that right?
Yeah.
And I suppose that piggybacks what he had to deal with at the back end of the championship. I know you're not on social media.
I haven't been on there pretty much since my career started, really, and I'm so glad of it, because it's easy, isn't it, when you're winning games and playing well? It's probably the best thing in the world. You get everybody telling you how great you are and offering you all sorts and everything. But then I see the flip side. I see quite a funny thing is that when you're on the bus after a loss or a poor performance or whatever, the first thing the lads are doing is checking their social medias and seeing what people are saying about them and things like that. And I just
at any level, Biggs. It's not just that. It's any level, 100%. Isn't it?
100%. Your clubs for your region, whatever, at any level. And I just feel like I'm just in that moment there. That's justified for me that why I'm not on there, because the last thing I'd want to be doing is work. And I'm not that type of sort of character anyway, and the things, but you're only human as well. That obviously if there's a barrage of negative abuse, you're never going to feel on top of the world, are you, sort of thing. So I just feel like that there is exactly the reason why I'm not on there. And it's really difficult for players to avoid it when you are on it. So I think it's just best for, from my end that you don't have to deal with that, which is great, really. But in terms of what Liam had to endure for whatever it was after the France game it's just crazy, isn't it? Because the way I always look at it is I'm a huge Man United fan, and sort of sit down and watch all their games and everything like that. And I just think if Bruno Fernandes, for argument's sake, misses a penalty in the last minute to win United the league or the cup or whatever it is, I just think if I was on social media, would I ever sit down on my sofa, write something abusive and horrible to him that he's going to see, which he's obviously going to be feeling bad enough anyway? And my answer is always, I wouldn't dream of it in a million years. And I just think that's the way. I think the people who are doing that have got to be pretty sad and pretty sort of low, really, to have to do that. So I always think, and it's easy for me because I'm not on social media and I don't have to receive it all the time. But I always just think the people who are writing that are the people you shouldn't be worried about anyway. So, but it's easy to say, isn't it? But it's not quite so easy when perhaps you're on the other end of it.
I just wanted to chat lastly just about the other fly halves kind of that you're up against and the captaincy. Obviously, we've seen Sexton captain Ireland, the frustrations that he's had when he's been brought off and been substituted. He wears his heart on his sleeve. Owen's been under a lot of pressure this Six Nations as well. You're a player that wears your heart on your sleeve when decisions don't go the way, or how difficult is it as a 10? And is it for these lads that are captaining the team to the way they are? I mean, you're probably three similar characters in terms of when you're on the pitch. Like, do you look at it and feel that would be an added pressure to them and the pressure that they've both been under the Six Nations?
Yeah, but perhaps I think though what I would say about Johnny and Owen is that I think they're the type of characters who want more and more responsibility. So if you said to sort of Owen or Johnny or whatever and said, we've got as good an option to goal kick for you as well and take a bit of pressure away from you and so you can focus on other parts of the game, you know that full well they're going to turn around and probably give you a couple of word answers and you'll be on your way, sort of thing, So I think they're the type of characters who just thrive on that responsibility and want to be the main man in the big moments, sort of thing. So I think everyone's going to have a bad performance, a bad campaign, and what you've got to, I think what people are forgetting is these two in particular have set the bar so high for club and country, haven't they? And the other thing, they're so used to winning as well because they've played for probably the two best club teams in the last probably 10 years of club rugby, and obviously Ireland and England have been very successful as well. So it's when perhaps things don't quite go so well, it's quite difficult for them to control that, like you said, heart on the sleeve, emotions type of thing, because they're just not used to, results not going the right side for them or decisions not quite going well. So I think knowing them as I do, two unbelievable players who've got, what I like about them is the attitude of they're prepared to put some absolute graft in as well and roll their sleeves up as well as having all the talent and success that they've had. So, I don't think the captaincy will bother either of them. I think, if anything, they'd want more responsibility if you could give them more as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So you're hoping for another couple of good years. Let's hope it's more than that. What are you thinking about after rugby? Obviously, the coaching thing's easily thrown about with a fly half and...
Yeah, if I'm honest with you, Jim, I could not think of anything worse than being a full-time sort of coach. I got to be honest.
It's really weird because a lot of people would think the way that you play and how embedded you are, that would be like you're one of these guys that it's just all out rugby and that's it. There's nothing else.
Yeah, I got to be honest. I would be. Well, you can play this tape back to me in 6-7 years' time if I end up being coach somewhere. But honestly, the way I could not think of anything worse. And it's not like, I think you've just got to be a certain character. And you look at like a coach. I like to think of myself as pretty professional and being in pretty early and making sure I get my recovery done after training and all extras and things. But you look, the coaches are in from 6:30, 7 o'clock, not leaving till 4 or 5 o'clock. Then they take all their work home with them, planning sessions, looking ahead to the next opposition and things. I just think I don't want something that's going to consume my life after giving so much of my life to rugby anyway. So I'd love to do little bits of media, Jim. If I'm honest, I'd love to do. I've enjoyed the sort of the bits of TV work which I've done. So I'd love to do maybe a bit of that, a bit of. I'd love to do a bit, maybe like a bit of kicking coaching, something like Neil Jenkins does. We've got Paul Grayson actually who comes in with us a couple of days a week, who's just comes in on like a consultancy basis with the kickers and some bits and pieces like that. And I'd like to combine those sort of bits, but also have enough time to, if I want to go and play golf on a Tuesday morning and do the school run or something, then I've got enough time to do that as well. So if the pod's still going in a few years, make sure you keep me a job or something like that. I'll come knocking then.
Oh, mate, yeah, no, 100%, mate. Well, I think you're class in the media, and it's been great talking to you. It really
Thanks,
has.
Mate. It's been great.
Yeah, especially after your win at the weekend, winning the championship, and obviously back into a busy season. So, mate, absolutely love that.
Brilliant. Thanks, Jim. Pleasure as always, mate.